I scratch built my very own AT-ST from Star Wars last year out of plasticard. That video is still up if anybody wants to watch that one. But I've had a few requests asking if I could make an Ork AT-ST. Well now, that is interesting and a bit tricky. Although it has to come from Star Wars, it needs to be set in the Warhammer Ork universe. So it's got to look similar but somehow its own. To do that, I need plastic spoons. These are for the legs. Now these plastic spoons, these are getting harder to find where I live as they're changing over to wooden ones. God damn them. And I give each spoon a good going over, and not like the way you're thinking, you sicko. I sand each spoon down with my other half's nail file until they're all rough and ready, and then start chopping. With the first spoon cut down, I'll use that as a template to cut the next spoon, and the next one, and the next. Oh, you get the idea. I do this process until I have some long spoon legs and some short spoon legs. Even though they're not legs, they're just the things that you hold, the handles, but yeah. Okay. Disclaimer time, the white powder on the table isn't Blind Owl's secret Peruvian marching powder, it's baking powder. I use this to help strengthen the bond with the super glue on the plastic. I've decanted some into a handy squeezer bottle so I don't have any on my hands, just in case there's a knock on the door and my fingers are covered in white powder. True story. So, once the spoons are stuck together, I'll try and make some sense out of what I've made by turning them into a leg. I'm using the original I made as a template, and with the legs done, it's on to the body. I used the arms and legs from this action figure for my electric state robot build, which is also on my channel if you've not seen that. Now, waste not, want not. As the saying goes, this will be part of my AT-ST. I just need to nip things down. When I say nip things down, it usually means bringing out the big guns. So this saw made for a leprechaun comes in handy. Hang on, this is taking a while. It's time for something bigger. Cue my tool I affectionately call Elon. This should do the trick. And yes, it was a cheap joke. I do apologise. So the body's cut down and it's time to glue the legs to the body. Here we go. Now I'm hoping that it's going to be, yes it stands unaided. I left this bit in as I have a hole in the front of the body. You'll see me cut this down and totally forget about this until later in the build. I swiftly move on to the back and glue some random greebles to each other. This is where I had the biggest problem. Sure, I could have made the top part with plasticard, but I wanted this to be 100% scratch built, like you could make at home. So I chose a gum container as the top of the body. I want the gum container to have a little, where was I? Oh yeah, I want the gum container to have a little height, so I'm just going to use this cut off of the spoon that I'm going to stick onto the body. Before I do anything else, I did use some plasticard for panels on the gum container, which you won't see with the end results. I've got to be careful where I place this because I don't want it to become bum heavy, so yeah, just like that. So I'm going to have to just tweak it a little bit and hopefully it'll be, there we go, just like that. That's how I want it. I use a lot of hot glue just to get it into place, and then, does it stand? Does it stand? Well, yes it does. There we go. So that's the basic shape of the AT-ST. I want to try and make some bits to come out just to give it a little bit more shape, which I can probably do with the panels, which are going to be next hopefully. And while I do that, I'm going to throw some names on the screen from awesome subscribers who have left witty, funny comments. Keep them coming. I reply to all, you know that by now, and it really helps the channel. I've got this really bad Chinese Transformers knockoff toy I'm going to break down and use for panels. The screws that came with the toy are thrown in as more dakka, I believe the saying is. I'm probably wrong, which, you know, is usually 100% of the time, and I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments. And this is the favourite bit of any build when I start gluing plastic to plastic. I'll never forget that comment. I had a comment a while ago from somebody that said that, well, you're just basically gluing plastic to plastic, which is kind of, yeah, that's what it is. I need more plastic, so I'm going to dismantle Elon. You know, if we took the real Elon and dismantled him, I wonder if this is what he'd look like. So I have that plastic and a bag full of plastic that I've whittled down and chopped away at the edges and distressed it just for this build. As you can tell, I don't get out much. For those of you who don't know how to do this, I just use anything that I've got, like a hobby knife, a file, a pair of pliers. I just go along and just start scratching away and making bits just chipped out of it, just to make it look like panels that have been, I don't know, taken from something else. And remember, always, if you're using a hobby knife, cut away from your thumb so you don't chop a thumb off, and try and use a little bit of a blunt blade, because that way you're not going to get cut. And here I am just snipping away at stuff, just making it look rough and ready, a lot like me. I'm using the other half's garden wire, which is rubber coated, which is dead easy to glue onto plastic and easy to shape. Once that is down, it's onto the panels, and I'll just start sticking random panels to random bits of plastic. Keep doing that until you're left with something like this, and yeah, at the moment doesn't look much, but persevere and trust the process and you'll probably end up something like this. That's the main plastic stuck down. I'm just going to put in a plastic straw. Oh, do we remember plastic straws, everyone? My goodness, can't get hold of these for love or money, but I've still got some spare, which I use sparingly, obviously. To make teeth, you could use plastic, but I'm using plasticard instead, simply because I have a lot of offcuts and need to start getting rid of them. I make various shapes of teeth with the plasticard. And once I've got enough, I'll just start adding these randomly to the build. Well, not so randomly. Yeah, it's random. I glue some of the bigger teeth to the top where the hatch is for the Ork. And I'm giving a very big shout out to Cynical Mank, who kindly sent me a care package of greebles. He sent me so much cool stuff to last a fair few builds, and I think it's time to dip into this treasure chest and see what I can use. Okay, I've selected a few items and it's time to glue them onto my AT-ST. This little piece looks like a reactor of some sort, which will go right there. I've also found this big shooter that I'm just going to nibble down the front bit so it can sit properly. Once the guns are in place, I just fashioned a little emblem out of plasticard that I'm just going to stick on the front. And also I'll stick in a cheeky code word before I forget. That'll really show me who the watchers are and who the peepers are. And then it's on to the rivets. I was asked what I use, and I've just recently come across these half circle nail gems. Don't ask how I found out, I'll only lie. And then I spend a good hour applying these gems to my build, until we get to the stage where we're on this spinny bit. So that is the Ork AT-ST looted vehicle that I'm going to take outside and spray. And here she is, all primed up, ready for the paint. Okay, so here comes the fun bit. I'm going to paint all this a metallic silver. As you can see, I'm going old school and just using a paintbrush. And once all that's dry, we're going to use a grey for the we're going to use a red, because we all know that red, it makes things go faster. So I'm going to put some red and a bit of black and a bit of whatever else I've got on the table, mix it all together, and that'll be the, well, technically base coat for red. And then the idea is to hit the panels, but try and leave some of the silver around the edges as best you can. It's also advisable that you don't use some of your best paintbrushes, because this is going to knock the bejesus out of the bristles. Now once that is dry, go in with a lighter red and just try and touch up the top bits, leaving the bottom bits a little darker. That'll give it the highlighting. I'm going to use an acrylic pen because no Ork vehicle is ever complete without checkers. Okay, so I cut out some of the mistakes, but there we go, there's the checkers. I feel the shooter at the front needs some bullets, so I'm just going to use a tank track, some pokey ear sticks and a silver pen. I colour in the pokey ear sticks with the silver pen, chop the pokey ear sticks into bite-sized chunks and then glue them onto the tank track until we get something that looks like that, and then I'll glue that to the side of the shooter. So off screen I undid all the paint job by adding a wash and some rust effects just to sort of like highlight some of the bits and pieces, but that's what it is. The glamour shots are next, so all that's left for me to say is thanks very much for stopping by. I appreciate all your support, keep your comments coming, and until next time, keep scratching that build everybody. Here is your Star Wars / AT-ST Ork looted vehicle. Try saying that 3 times fast.